moving on to step 2, once you've made your sole, you're going to cut your yarn, and I've already woven it in because we're going to start inserting our yarn from where we have the marked stitches. So to work the back part, which is what this is here, that's why we cut the yarn, because we're starting in a different place than we stopped. You're not going to count quite halfway up, and you'll see in the pattern it will tell you where to mark it, but if you want to do it a little different, it'll still work just fine, because we're not going to be counting stitches anymore after this point. So for the size I'm doing, since I'm tall, I have long feet, I'm using the largest size, and that is 21 stitches from the back center stitch. I've already done that here, so I'll count up. That's right here, so it's not quite the halfway point. And I like to use safety pins. If you've seen my videos before, you know I like to use those as markers most of the time. They're not always the best choice, but I just needed to quickly mark here. And you'll be working in a half circle. So you're going to insert your yarn and go around this way, chain one, and then come back the other way. You start whichever side you like, and if you have a certain side that you want to face down, you can do that. This will be my facing down side. I'm going to turn over, insert my yarn. And a lot of what we're doing, your ends are going to be able to be worked in, so don't worry about all these different spots where we're attaching yarn, because of course you're going to have to do it again with the other color. So I'm going to bring it in, chain one, and then start working my half double crochet, starting in that same spot where I inserted. And now I can take out this because I don't need it anymore. And on the other side, it'll tell me where to stop. So I'll meet you back at the other end. I just finished my third pass around, and I'm using my project tracker, which you will see it insert in this video, probably in the next clip. This is the small print one, and it's a little bit easy. I noticed when I did the first slipper to lose track of how many rows I was doing back and forth. So using the tracker definitely helps, and of course you can use a scrap of paper, but I got tired of that after years and years and design these. So we're just chaining one as you go around. I don't want all that height because that will throw off the front part of the shoe, and that does not, of the shoe, of the slipper. We can call them crochet shoes, why not? No rules, right? And that does not count as a stitch, so it's just one to turn. And I'll just keep going back and forth until I get to the height that it says in the pattern, and then move on to the front of the shoe. I'm excited to show you the project trackers I have designed, and I wish I did this years ago because they have been really wonderful to have. So first of all, nice size, fits right into a project bag, and this is the large print. In the front of the large print, I want to show you, there is a true to life 4-inch ruler, so you can check your gauge easily. You don't have to fumble around, look for a ruler. I've used this quite a bit in just the past 4 projects I've used in this book. And there's also small print, and each of these books has sections for small projects, mid-sized, and large projects like blankets. So the small projects, there's 60 stitches, like a dishcloth, something like that, and there's room for notes, and I have space after each stitch that you check off. If you have to put a note, maybe you changed a color, you changed a stitch, you changed your hook, all of that can be in there. Mid-size projects, 180 stitches, and there's room for notes. And then the blanket size, 330 stitches. And then let's compare the large size print, which I need because I have terrible eyes since I was a teenager, compared to the small size. So handy. And of course a link will be available to get these if you want one for yourself. Finished all of my rounds, including the decrease row to really hug the ankle and the heel, so we don't want this slipping down on us when we walk around. And I've marked that I've ended here, and I'm starting with the gray so that I'll be able to do the same 9 rows here, and have 3 stitch markers ready for the toe box. And the toe box will help define, well, first of all, it serves a few purposes. Of course, it's going to decrease and narrow and give us the point that complements the accent. I have to stitch this down. It'll also guide where this braid detail goes, but we're not doing that yet on this first round. Just have your stitch markers ready, and they will be moved with every round, so you want something that's easy to take in and out. But you know, not all stitch markers are created equal. And I'm going to attach from the inside so that my loose end is in there. So let's see, right here. Attach with the single crochet to secure it, and then work a half double crochet into that same stitch. And then I'll go around, and then I'll come back when I start the second pass and talk to you about marking the toe box. Right, I'm on round 2. I've marked my first round so that I know where I am. And this is when you are going to mark the toe box, because the decrease will start now. So what you're going to do, find your center stitch, which is this one, and mark it. Then count, not counting the main one, count 6 from that stitch and mark it, and then do the same on this side. And then start working as you did with the back end, which is the half double crochets around. Keep track of your rounds, and I'll show you how I'm going to do the decrease. You can probably get one of these done in a day if you have the day to yourself. And if you just have a few hours here and there, probably 3 days. So you need to make them for a gift. It won't take long at all. And they're pretty easy to make. If you're a comfortable beginner, if you've made a few projects already. So I take my marker out, pull up a loop, go into the next, pull up a loop. So starting one stitch before the actual mark stitch, and then the stitch after are the 3 that you're going to put together. So you have 4 loops on the hook. This yarn is splitting. And then all the way through, half double crochet into the next. And I'm going to put my marker back in at the single crochet. I put 3 together loop, which was not the one I just did. I just did a half double crochet. It was the one before that. Secure that. and keep half double crocheting around. Work over that center marker, or if it bothers you, you can take it out. Double crochet. One more, and then I'm at the stitch before. Pull up a loop. Take my marker out. Go into the marked stitch and the stitch after. Pull through, half double crochet, go to the one before the half double crochet and mark it again. And that's how you'll continue the next few rows. And you'll start to see that they become very close together to the point that you can't do it anymore. But I'll show you that when I get there. I'm on the round where the two markers are no longer going to be needed. So right here I'm doing the single crochet 3 together. The stitch marker was just right here in this space. Took it out, working that, and then I have one stitch before, then I have my second marked stitch and the stitch after, so that's going to become my new center stitch. I'll take that marker out, to my decrease, and I've noted that in my this yarn splitting on me. Put that marker in there. That is now my center stitch. You can see here in the tracker I put where I change color, and I'm doing decrease rows here and so forth. So this is This is nice just when I'm creating a pattern or working on a pattern. So then I'll half double crochet around, and then when I come back and finish my last, I have 2 more rows. I will just be doing the single crochet 3 together on that center stitch that is now marked. And then you see here how this triangle is working, which is where the accent braid will go. Now I'm going to show you how to add this accent to the slipper. So you'll see in the pattern it has you make a length of both colors, double them over, and knot the base. To put the knotted ends down. We're going to trim them later, but we need them to stay together for this part. And this is a little fiddly, but it's only for just a very short space. You can do this. We're going to be working in this section where those decreases are. It makes a guide, nice V shape. We're working, pulling up 2 strings at a time, and I use a smaller hook for this. You probably could use the one you've been working with if you don't have one this size. This is a 3.5, and the slippers you've been working on is a 4.0, just a little easier. Alright, so let's get these down in there. I'm looking to see where I'm going to start. And how you'll start, because of how we're going to secure them, is just above where that color changes. So bring it up right in there. On this it'll be right about here. Put my hook in, pull through a double strand, and that knot is going to come up to the back, not too tight, because what you'll need to do at the end is trim it, and then we're going to hand tie the two colors together to secure them. But for right now, just bring that up snug. And then next, I'll go into the next spot and pull through around in there. I'm doing it by touch, but if you need to look, peek in, bend it out, that's just fine. And pull back both of them kind of snug. Let me see. My teal's looking a little bit loose. There we go. And I'll go into the next space. Behind for teal color, or whatever color you're using in place of this. Make sure I'm not getting the actual slipper strand. There we go. It's fiddly. There it is. Come up, kind of snug, a bit through. See how it's starting to come together now? And I'll keep doing that up to the top and alternating down, ending with the teal color, because how it will be secured, which I will show you, is going to be through the back with the silver yarn, because it's going to kind of blend it through here, and I've already started. You see how I went through and hooked it down, so when I go back and make this snug, it'll look perfect. Alright, so that's how we work this little braid detail. I'm going to finish this up and I will see you back at the next step. I'm up at the top, and I thought I would just show you, in case you're uneasy about this being a new technique. Come through. So coming up to that top center stitch, and I'm leaving that marked for when I do the finishing row around, because we're going to do some decreases just to tighten it up at the top. But don't worry about that sitting there, it won't be in the way. Pull through. Kind of come through that top stitch before I bring in the darker color. Come back down. Goes through. Let me see where I'm putting in my next. Now that stitch marker's in the way after I said don't worry about it. It's okay, I can move it. So it's working with these threads in the back that get a little tricky. Alright, so I'm pulling up my... This is worked in one continuous movement. We're not doing two starts at the bottom. There's a car outside. This is real life, folks. Alright, pull that snug. Start working my way back down. I finished up doing the top 2 finishing rows. I wove in the decorative accent. So now this has to be tacked down and secured. Straighten it up here a little bit. It shifts around a little bit when I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do is take the gray yarn that I mentioned earlier, how this is going to be tacked down, get a length of it, and I'm going to work like I'm weaving in my end first. So I'm going to snake it around, well, from the inside through, come up, secure it down, and then keep weaving it in so that there's no more little ends hanging around, no more knots going on. Here. Flip it over. Oh, don't pull this through too much. Alright, so how far do we go when we're doing this? 6 stitches over. Just overlap a couple times so it knots itself in there. Not too snug. Closer. Alright, so flip over, see where I'm at with this. Get it in place and snug through the other side so it's not too long and matches the opposite side. On the wrong side. And there we have it down. And I'll just finish weaving it in, and then I'll show you how to secure these back little ties. Now to deal with the inside here of our decorative yarns, and for me this side looks okay, it looks pretty secure. Well, the silver here. On this side, I'm going to do, so this is the side I finished on. I started here with all the knots. So we're going to open up that loop. And then tie the split. Tie one silver with one teal into 3 knots. And if you think these on the other side are going to rub on your feet, they shouldn't. This is not a tight slipper. But if you're sensitive, I know some people are really sensitive about their feet, you can do the same thing over here. But they're loose enough on me that that's not a problem. So you want to do 3 snug knots. 2 is going to be risky if you are ever going to wash them, which of course you are because you'll be walking on the floor with them. And our floors unless they're clean enough to eat off at all times. They're gonna go dirty. Okay, so there, my slipper's done, and my other one is done. So I'm going to put them on. Oh, I have another end I need to weave in back here, the heel. Forget about that. Isn't that just the way when you're changing colors in a project? You always find one extra little end, a bonus end. Okay, so there's the slipper.